Yes, everybody, welcome back to the Fixture List. Stephen Howson.
Joe Smith.
You're not Joe Smith.
All right, I'm not Joe Smith. I'm Ronaldo Brown. You might or might not have seen me before, but unfortunately, something's happened to Joe. What's happened to him?
Seen you on Jamaican telly.
Have you?
Yeah.
Could have been me. Could have been someone similar.
So Joe's not here, but the Fixture List must go on. The show must go on. I've heard that that's a phrase, isn't it? People say that. The show must go on. So the show must go on, especially as it's the Euros, and we have to talk about the Euros. There won't be a Stevie Joe
Euros
this
2020 in 2021.
Correct. So there isn't a Stevie Joe this week, and it isn't because I pulled my quad last week, honest. It's because Joe got bagged by track and trace.
Oh, he's got the old COVID.
No, he ain't got it.
21.
He's not got it. He's not got any symptoms.
Mars
but
variant.
He got the app got him in his house, not on just sitting on his own.
And we did say, if you do know Joe, he's very law-abiding, very rule-abiding.
Loves the rules. So,
Almost too much so, it's quite annoying.
So he'll be back next week. So Ronaldo's filling in, but it is the Euros. It is football, so I think we need to talk about the Euros. But I actually think we also need a bit of a hand from an expert.
Who's the expert then?
Mo from Squawka.
How you doing, lads? What's good?
I'm all right. Are you all right?
You know, I'm good. I'm getting hyped for the Euros. It's coming, right? It's like loads of games. I mean, a weird opening game, Italy versus Turkey. But, you know, other than that, it's hype, man. It's hype.
But do you know why it's weird as well? Because normally you have a host nation. It's always the host nation kicks this off. This is kind of like...
Do you know what? Why do I always feel like the opening game in these competitions are always a pretty shit one?
Because there's too much of an opening ceremony. There's too long a wait. And people just don't want to lose it. So it's
draws, isn't it? Like I remember, like in South Africa 2010, it was a draw. They're often draws because the Euro 2012 Poland versus someone was a draw. You know, so that they're often it's like no one wants to really take a risk. That said, though. You fancy Italy to beat Turkey, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think Italy are dark horses, man. I think people are sleeping on them.
Nah, they're definitely a dark horse. I think they're my...
Watch that midfield, man. Nico Barrea, Verratti, Jorginho. That's serious.
I think they're my...
Is it 27 games unbeaten?
Something like that. I think they've gone 27 games without losing a game internationally. And I think the last 7 or 8 games that they've played, that they've won, they've not conceded a single goal. They are the most informed international team in the world, and people are...
And no one's talking about them because they don't have a star player at Madrid, they don't have a star player at Barcelona, there's not really anyone in the Premier League ripping it up for them. So they don't matter, but that's not the case.
And they've got Mancini.
Yeah. They've got big Bobby Mancini, innit? You know, we know he can work miracles. But
the thing is, though, right? He won. He won at City. He's a winner.
Yeah.
He can still win stuff.
I think he's one of them where he can tactically put something together where they are going to be dangerous. I'm going to keep an eye on Italy. I think if you're a betting man, put a cheeky little $5 on him.
Well, they're not fancy, are they? France are fancy. Go on, Mo, give us what's the stats saying?
I mean, France are the overwhelming favourites for the simple reason that they're the best team. Look, they got Rafael Varane 3 Champions Leagues in a row. They've got Presnel Kimpembe. Well, he didn't win Liga actually, so maybe he's someone better to avoid. But literally every player in their 11, except for the 2 centre backs and the goalie, is better than they were 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they won the World Cup, right? Benjamin Pavard now Bayern Munich, heavy hitter, really settled in. Lucas Hernandez now Bayern Munich again, very, very, very settled, very established as a left back. Whereas before he was just kind of playing there at position. You got Pogba and Kante. I mean, need I say more? Kante, man of the match in the Champions League semi-final, first leg, second leg, and the final. They've got Pogba, who's brilliant in the Europa League final. No one else in United really was. He was really good in a deeper role. Playing him against Kante, they've got Tolisso. Now, Tolisso prevents an interesting tactical twist. In the World Cup, they played with Matuidi, right? Matuidi was shuttle up and down the left, provided a lot of width, kind of like Petit did in 1998. Toliso's a different kind of player. And what Toliso's going to do is Tolisso will probably sit there and play passes more, which is good because it lets Kante actually run. And we've seen with Chelsea this year, you let Kante run, you let him press, push up, drive forward, break lines. He can just absolutely wreak havoc on opponents. And then up front, they've got 3 guys, Antoine Griezmann, Karim Benzema, and Mbappe. Maybe you heard of them. You know, reasonably talented fellas. I mean, Mbappe is outrageous, unreal. Antoine Griezmann, struggling for Barca, but when he plays for France, he's brilliant. Benzema is literally the second best striker in the world, and they just added him to their World Cup winning team. Like, it's ridiculous. It's an embarrassment of riches. The only thing that's going to hold them back is the fact that they are overwhelming favourites.
Do you know who beats France?
Who?
France.
That's actually that's very smartly put, Steve. I respect that. But
Sometimes I have them moments.
you mentioned all those attacking players, and another man that didn't get mentioned, which I think should always get respect, is Olivier Giroud.
Absolutely. I mean, he came off the bench in their last friendly. He scored 2 goals.
I think he's approaching the record for France, if I'm not mistaken.
5 off Thierry Henry, breaking Thierry Henry's all-time record for all-time.
And apparently, he's got a better minutes per goal ratio than Henry for France as well.
Wow.
He does. He's absolutely lights out. And you know what it is about Giroud is he just gets it done. He's not really flashy. He's nowhere near as good as, let's say, Benzema or Thierry Henry. But what he does is he complements the rest of the French team really well because they're all ballers, right? They're all like doing step overs, doing skills, trying to create stuff, magic. I mean, Griezmann scored an overhead kick against Bulgaria, for goodness sake. But Giroud just shows up. He's just there. He makes those runs at the back post, and he's there for the tap-ins, and he scores loads of tap-ins. Because France
Give me effective over flashy all day of the week. All day
100%.
Give me effective over flashy any day of the week. And he's effective.
Yeah, and you know what's scary about it, right, is that they're obviously, because Benzema's starting now, they're now bringing Giroud off the bench, and they're going to bring Thomas Lemar off the bench, and they're going to bring Ousmane Dembele off the bench. Those three completely change the way they play. Like, they give them so much energy, tempo, and drive. It's scary. Like, even if you manage to handle the starting 11 of France, which is enough of a task as it is, they can just up the tempo with those 3 subs, and then suddenly you're in a world of pain.
I'm going to make a call here. I'm going to say this tournament is a substitutes tournament. Someone's going to grab headlines from the bench, because what I think is going to happen is you basically had 2 mushed up seasons with COVID. So what's going to happen is you're going to see players coming into this. Some of the players, and Pogba could be one of them, that's coming a bit fresher than some of the others. You could see Foden or someone like that's maybe only played 20-odd games in the league, coming in looking very fresh. The players like Rashford, who played 75 games last 12 months, forget about that. He probably shouldn't even go, because I don't think he's going to have any impact whatsoever. But who's going to have impact in this?
I'm not expecting greatness from those boys.
Off the bench, players off the bench, players who play 20 games.
I think Rashford shouldn't start every game for England, definitely.
That's who's going to have the impact in this, and I wouldn't be surprised, especially with someone like France, if you can handle that 11 and you can't. What they're going to bring off the bench is just going to take it to a whole different level. And I think fatigue, the heat, everything, the weird travel situations, the bubbles, that's going to have such an impact on this tournament that I think it's going to be who can stay fresh and who's got the bigger impact off the bench. And this is why
I think it's like a war of attrition almost.
But what's going to be great about France as well is because one of the big problems with the expanded Euro format which we've had recently is that it often takes away what was so great about the Euros back in the day, was that they always had groups of death, like loads of really great teams, because it was only like 16 teams, wasn't it, originally? And what's great about this is we've got a proper group of death coming up now. We've got France, Portugal, Germany, and Hungary. And Hungary are in really good form, although Dominic Szoboszlai is not going to go. He's injured, unfortunately, their best player. But that's a really, really good group. There's literally no dead games in there. Even Hungary will give every single one of those teams a go. And that's going to be amazing. France v Portugal is mouth-watering, because that could honestly be the final. They're 2 fantastic sides. Portugal, Bruno Fernandes is outrageous. I think he broke Frank Lampard's record for the most goals scored in a single season by a Premier League midfielder, I should say. You've got Bernardo Silva, made it to the Champions League final, won the Premier League. Really, really great player. You've got João Felix, who won La Liga, right? You've got Moutinho is going to be there. Pepe, who's so good for Porto. Ruben Dias, João Cancelo, Rafael Guerrero, and just some guy. What's his name? Cristiano Ronaldo.
Here's the thing. Right?
I was going to say
that's one goals international football.
The thing is with Portugal is obviously they won the Euros last time out, but they won it by playing on the counter, stifling, hard working, taking it to penalties. The team that they've got this time around, I think, is a team that can definitely play on the front foot. And that's what's interesting about them, is are they gonna?
But are they going to be one of those where they won the Euros, got to give them credit, but they were a little bit underdogs in that tournament as well.
They were massive underdogs,
they
but
were
still won. So is that mentality carryover?
Yeah, it's a mentality carryover, but it's like...
In the group stage 4 years ago, they got 3 points. They fluked it, really. They honestly fluked it. They had an easy draw. They got some very lucky calls. Ronaldo came alive against Wales just when he had to. They were very bad in those Euros.
They took the trophy home. And that's
Yeah,
all
no.
that matters at the end
But
of the
what I'm
day.
saying is, like, often what we see with these underdog winners, like Portugal were, is that they can't sustain it. But the thing is, Portugal, because they have such a great talent base, they've actually just gotten better. Like Ronaldo says, they've added players. They can actually play on the front foot now. They've got ballers in their team. Ronaldo Sanchez, who was great in 2016, then really dipped, has now come back again. Won league going with Lille. Really
Do you know
good
what?
player.
I've said some outrageous things about him.
About
because,
Ronaldo.
he was so bad when he was in England. So bad.
Really was. But you know what?
Swansea.
He's righted the ship at Lille. He's done really well for himself. He's playing really well right now. Portugal are just dangerous, man. Like everywhere you look, there's someone that can hurt you. They can sit deep and play on the break if they want to. They don't have to.
The different thing now is they have heightened expectation this time.
Yeah, and
That
rightly
is,
so.
whereas last time they played a little bit more with like the underdog mentality where you can play a little bit freer. There's not much expected, and you can just go out and express yourself. This time around, they're actually expected to go far and expected to do well, and sometimes players or teams can kind of buckle under the pressure a little bit. We'll have to see.
This is where we need to see, because this is also that also applies to France. Because I mean, everyone wanted them to win the World Cup. They thought they had a chance, but like I said, I think someone did this research on Twitter. I can't remember what his name is, Rafael Rojas or something like that. I think he did this research on Twitter that basically in the last like 20 years, only the overwhelming odds-on favourite has only ever won a tournament like 3 times, and 2 of those were Spain. So it was France in Euro 2000. That was the last time. So it's very hard to go into these tournaments as the favourite, as the overwhelming favourite, and win, because to carry that expectation is me hard. Now France, I mean, if anyone can do it, right, it's this France team. They're so talented. But it's just worth them keeping an eye on other teams that haven't necessarily been touted as winners. Maybe England. I mean.
Right, okay.
Listen.
I thought we was going to kind of do this chronologically, or sort of at least in some sort of order of talent. So I think France.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Portugal are going to be right up there. We mentioned Italy as dark horses. I think they're in the mix.
Belgium.
Well, Belgium all depends on those 2 guys coming back from injury, I think. Because if you've watched them in the friendlies, Lukaku is ridiculous right now. He's absolutely lights out. He's been incredible. Yannick Carrasco, very, very good. But they just lack a little something. Tielemans is playing very well. Yannick Carrasco, as I said, Lukaku is outrageous right now. Really, really, really good. But they just lack a little bit of something without De Bruyne and without Hazard. Now, they can maybe make do without one of them, but they need at least one of them, I would say, to really push it further. Now, they might get them both coming back to fitness as the tournament progresses. They might get through the group. I mean, their group is pretty, I don't want to say easy, but they can get through the group, I think, without them. Maybe muddle their way through the group. If they can get those 2 back, then you really have to start looking at Belgium and thinking, okay, hang on, they've got Thierry Henry back as a coach. Obviously, he was on coaching staff in the World Cup. Roberto Martinez is a really solid coach. He's really got them playing well. They've got that system. The defense is getting a bit older, but Jason Denayer is actually now not a liability. I think he's really coming into his own as a centre-back. He's playing well. Boyata is still weak, but so they need Vertonghen to sort of roll back the years. But if he can, and Courtois is the best goalkeeper at the tournament, comfortably. Like he's in a ridiculous form. So even if you get past their defense, he's going to show up and shut the door in your face. So yeah, Belgium is serious, but I just think with Belgium, it relies on at least one of De Bruyne or Hazard coming back to fitness and form as well. Like without both of them, I think they lack.
I don't think it's going to be
Hazard.
I think if anyone's doing it, it's De Bruyne, I think.
I think it's De Bruyne, but I think with the England, there's just a genuine expectation for them every time there's international competition. I think this time around, people are getting kind of carried away with the attacking talent that we have. But whenever
the attack's great.
The attack's great, but whenever I watch England, defensively in the midfield area on back, we look so like there to be got at.
Here's the thing, right? You've got Declan Rice, who's a good player.
Yeah.
But he's not world class.
Nope.
And then he's the best of the midfield. Deeper midfield. Right? Then you've got Maguire, who's our best defender, and he's probably injured. So you're going into it with Mings and Stones. And Stones ain't playing for City in this. He's playing for England. With no good protection, no midfield. This is an England team that cannot hold.
Did you watch the game against Rome?
Yeah.
I thought defensively we looked shoddy. I thought we literally against Romania, and I looked at that and I thought, if we played against a slightly better team with that kind of defensive shape and defensive kind of liability that we showed.
The forward four was what I wanted us to try the forward four, but I wanted to see that forward four against a game where we wouldn't dominate possession, because I thought that's a great counter-attacking forward four. But obviously we had like 70% possession against Romania. It's like, what's the point in looking at this?
Yeah, the thing with England is Maguire being out is such a huge thing. I mean, Gary Neville got pelters when he said on TV that Maguire being out is a bigger problem for Southgate than Kane being out, because people thought he was saying Maguire is better than Kane. What he was saying was England don't have another great centre-back after Maguire. They have Stones who can be great, but Stones needs someone there, sort of hand on his shoulder going, you're okay, John, you're okay, John. And then Stones is great, which is what Ruben Dias did for City all season. But Ruben Dias isn't there for England, and Harry Maguire, who could do that, isn't there for England. So you're looking at Tyrone Mings or Connor Cody or Ben White, like shepherding John Stones through the tournament. And I mean, look, it might happen. I don't see it happening. Mings is not in good form. If this was a year ago, I would say Mings could do it. Mings was in great form a year ago. This season, he's not been at his best. He's not looked anywhere near his best. Not quite. Cody shouldn't even be on the plane. It's a joke, frankly. He's really not had a good season. Ben White's been very good, but Ben White is junior to John Stones. So how is Ben White going to be guiding John Stones to anything? Maguire being out is a huge issue because it destabilizes the whole defense. And of course, Southgate's loyalty to Pickford is always, it's just going to come back to bite him again. His loyalty to Walker, he hasn't taken Wan-Bissaka, the one player in England have that could have marked. I mean, look, this is the thing is, if England win the group, which I think they'll probably win, they've got enough talent to win the group, they will face the runner-up from Group F, which is probably going to be Portugal or maybe France. Or best case scenario, it's Germany. So, there's like immediately you're looking at, okay, you're going to have Leroy Sané, Sergio Gnabry, Bernardo Silva, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele. We need someone to man mark these guys. Yep. Who have we got? Oh, we've got literally the best man mark one-on-one defender in the world.
Because he's in Ocean FIFA.
That's definitely where he is. But I'm thinking one of those, like, look at the attacking players that we mentioned on them teams. And they're going to be up against Tyrone Mings. That is an absolute nightmare, because I think Tyrone Mings is the most overrated centre-half I've seen in a long time.
What England needed to do was go proper 4-4 fucking 2, go play complete counter-attack, and put Ben White and Mings in there and go, come on then. That's literally what they need to do.
You actually rate Mings?
No, I don't. But I'm saying what you need to do is just go narrow, compact.
He's got a career of being left-footed in the centre-half.
Force them to play long balls into the box, because England can actually cope with that. Stop trying to think you're Spain and France, because you're not.
I mean, this is the thing. With Maguire fit, you can play. But without Maguire, I think you're absolutely correct. I think England need to swallow their pride and just pack it deep and hit on the break. Because England had the players to kill teams.
Oh, my God. Sancho, Rashford,
exactly. We've got the attacking players.
Come on the break. We're having them.
But I'm saying, Ben White's a footballer.
The England forwards are lighting on the break. Foden, Rashford, just Foden, Rashford, Grealish, just those three alone. And then you throw in Sterling off the bench. Jadon Sancho. My God, Jadon Sancho. You could even drop Kane. I mean, you're not going to drop Kane, but you could even drop Kane and just play a front three of like Foden, Rashford, and like Grealish or Sancho. Play a front four of those four and just say, right, bomb it on the break. Everyone track back. Everyone absorb it. Mings can handle long balls. Ben White can handle long balls, and then hit him on the break. And honestly, that's England's best path to success. It won't be what Southgate does. He's caught between being very adventurous like he was in 2018 and being very cautious. So he will just sort of play like a very sort of middle of the road team. He'll be too many defensive midfielders, not enough creativity in midfield, even though he's got the players to do that, add creativity in midfield. He didn't take Wan-Bissaka, so he's going to have to really defend more as a zone, as a group, which means he's not going to be able to unleash the right wing back, whoever that is, Reece James, probably Kieran Trippier, as much as he would like to. I mean, Trent is a big miss. Offensively, he's a big miss. So that's the problem. Luke Shaw, the only really area where you're thinking he's absolutely set, he's got no issues whatsoever, is Luke Shaw and Ben Chilwell, because they're both fit. They both had great seasons. And, so left wing back is fine. He's absolutely sorted left wing back.
People are saying Chilwell over Shaw, though.
Everywhere else is a problem. Because even up front, he's got fitness issues everywhere. Rashford is not fully fit. Kane, he probably is, but is he? He's always one little knock away from not being fit again. The only fully fit striker he has is Raheem Sterling, who is in awful form. So it's a problem. Sancho is not fully there yet, but I think Sancho is almost their best bet, really. Rashford is exhausted, the poor man. Just give him 2 months off in an ice bath, man. Just let him go away to some Caribbean island, just chill.
Definitely shouldn't start. We've got enough attacking wise where you don't need to start Rashford.
No, but he will though, because he's the most clutching them forward, and Southgate does trust him implicitly, and you can see that trust in the way that he gave Rashford the armband. You can see he trusts Marcus Rashford, and you understand why, right? Because Rashford is a great player, great leader, great man.
You know what you're getting out of him. He's always going to follow the instructions, and he's always going to work hard.
He works hard.
You're never going to see him switch
off the ball.
off.
He moves off the ball. That's the other thing. He doesn't do it enough. Frankly, he should do it more. But he moves off the ball, whereas a lot of other players, ball to feet. Grealish, ball to feet. Sancho, ball to feet. Rashford will just running behind, and that's going to be big for England. It all depends on the approach Southgate takes. This is it's sort of like a really weird sort of situation England are in, because they have the talent to actually, frankly, I mean, maybe not win it, because without Maguire in defence, I don't know. But honestly, to go really far in the tournament, they just need to embrace what their squad, the current squad that he has picked, is good at, rather than try and do something like a vision that he has in his head, Southgate, which the current squad isn't really capable of fulfilling.
No, if this squad had Michael Carrick, Rio and Sol Campbell at the back, maybe another good solid midfielder. I mean, it was like You
mean English players for English teams that still didn't win anything?
Yeah, but that was because they weren't selecting. Like, if they was picking Michael Carrick in 2008 to 10 sort of era, they'd have been winning things instead of not qualifying for things.
Oh no, man! All belief has been lost
with the talent, with the way the players were all playing. It needed a proper defensive mid to balance it out. I mean, you look back at highlights of those tournaments. Gerrard was ridiculous. He was so good, and it was just like if they just had someone actually hold midfield and just let him constantly fly forward and score goals, it would have worked out all right. But because they had Lampard in there next to him, it was like he would go forward, Lampard would go forward, and he would just go and run in behind. But now he had the opposite problem, right? Because who's going to be their most attacking midfielder? Mason Mount. I like Mason Mount a lot. He's done really well this season, but he should be the second most attacking midfielder. It should be holding midfielder, Mason Mount, and then someone even more attacking than Mason Mount. Jack Grealish, Jude Bellingham, I don't know, Jesse Lingard. Why didn't Jesse Lingard go? That was a strange.
When he's talked about selecting players on form, the likes of Jesse Lingard, even Joe Willock, like these are players that had shouts to go if you're talking about pure form.
What was it, like 9 games in a row he scored? That's ridiculous.
He was approaching some sort of crazy statistical record that he was approaching.
It's honestly, and again, even if just to bring him off the bench, because that's what he's doing for Newcastle, he's coming off the bench. I mean, honestly, this is the thing, with a 26-man squad, he had 3 extra spots to play with. He really should have taken a proper wild card like Joe Willock, because with the way the form he's in, you just never know. Like, you see it all the time with smaller nations, like some random player just catches fire and then gets a big money transfer or something. Why couldn't Joe Willock be like that for England?
But you bring him in, and then you also send that kind of message of saying that if you do play well and you are on a good run of form, you get rewarded.
There you go.
So Mo, let's put your neck on the line time. At what stage are England getting knocked out?
Round of 16 by Portugal. Sorry. It's a sad fact, but there's no way this team has enough to beat Portugal. There's no way anyone in that England shirt can cope with Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo at the back. It's just going to be a carnage.
An international loss to Portugal by England was the last time that I supported him, because it ended in tears for me as a young lad, and I'm not going to say exactly when. But we lost on penalties to Portugal. I've not
figure it out. Something to do with Wayne Rooney and Cavani.
I remember crying. My mum told me, and then ever since then I've been anti-England because he broke my heart.
Who's winning it, Mo?
France. They're too good. They're too good. Everything is like you said earlier. It's going to be about squads. It's going to be about depth. It's going to be about who can bring who off the bench to sort of bolster themselves. And their second 11 could challenge for the tournament.
Do you know what? France haven't had any rumours of like a rift either, which is a proper French thing in the tournament, isn't it? There's always a bit of a row going on in the tournament.
There's always something in it.
And it seems like they're quite harmonious at the moment.
Like Benzema is totally chilled out, because like his exile from the French team just chilled him out. He's just a vibes guy now. I mean, you see him on Instagram, he's just posting.
No Evra, no Anelka, no one just fucking steaming in going, hey!
There definitely is going to be a bit of that. It has to be with the French, innit? There's going to be something, but he doesn't look like a really...
There won't be, man. Yeah. If you look at them all now, they'll play Football Manager in their spare time. They're all a bunch of nerds now. And the only one that's like a drippy guy is Benzema, and he's on his own now, so he's just going to behave just to get along, to go along, to get along. He wants to win some international silverware.
Boom! Bring back French being French. That's what we're like. No, the Cantonars, the Evras, the
characters,
colourful lunatics. That's what we miss.
Characters.
Yeah, characters. All right, Mo, thank you. Where can the people check out everything that they need for all the Euros?
Squawka.com. Just check it out. We've got everything. Squawka at Squawka on Twitter, at Mohammed Bot on Twitter. You know we are. We got you, baby.
Awesome. Thank you, Mo. It's not all the Euros this week, though.
Why? What else is there?
There is, I believe it's basketball as well this week.
Basketball's might be slightly less important than the Euros, only slightly.
It's like, yeah. Oh, no, 'cause I know you like your basketball.
I do love the NBA.
And I'm deciding that I'm going to start following the Chicago Bulls, but I know they're not good at the moment.
They're not.
But it is what it is. There was a team that sort of alerted me to basketball back in the 90s, but we've got into that before, so we're not going to go over that again.
Or was that your 27 editions of Last Dance viewing?
Well, no, because I was culturally aware of
Chicago
basketball
Bulls.
and basketball players. Because like when they was winning their first three-peat or second three-peat was like the roundabout time Cantona was winning doubles for United. So I'm aware of that as a thing, and obviously very.
Do you want a Chicago Bulls vest for your birthday?
Yeah, you can get me one if you want.
Yeah, someone get him one, because it can't be me.
Right, anyway, there is basketball this weekend. I did see the Lakers lost.
Yeah, the Lakers have been.
I was aware of that.
Yeah, you heard the Lakers.
Lakers,
Yeah,
different
that's
league.
a new one. The Lakers have been knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, having won the whole competition and been world champions last
My
year.
guy was getting a bit of grief off that Stephen A. Smith, who likes to give a bit of grief.
Stephen
out,
A.
doesn't he?
Smith is obviously a very, very extroverted, out there
His thing is
character.
just criticise people.
It's very loudly and have a receding hairline. But but that's basically, he's been on to LeBron James about the fact that he's been knocked out of the first round when it actually is LeBron's first time that he's ever been knocked out in the
But
first
he's
round of
making
playoffs.
a big thing about
But he's
it.
making a big thing about it. Like,
He says something
LeBron's
like,
not
you can never
36.
be Jordan because... that
Which is not true, because Jordan did go to 6 finals and win 6. But Michael Jordan did get knocked out in a lot of first rounds in his younger days, whereas LeBron kind of had this success to sustain throughout it. Like, he's got more playoff games than Jordan, he's been to more finals than Jordan. He's just not won as much, but in terms of the kind of whole picture of his success and what he's achieved,
He can
he's
play.
up there. He can definitely play.
He can definitely play. I mean, like, again, I'm quite brand new to basketball in a sense, but I'm very aware of LeBron James.
Yeah, I think he's one of them. He's an icon now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you get these sporting stars. Whether you like the sport, whether you watch the sport, you still know who they are. I think if
It's
you
like,
walk around,
obviously you got your Usain Bolts. They transcend the sport. Like, you're different, obviously, your family's involved in sprinting. So, but if I said to you, name 10 sprinters, your average guy in the street's not naming 10 sprinters.
he's saying Usain Bolt, and that's it.
And then Linford Christie maybe, and then who's that guy that got done cheating? Ben Johnson. Like, that's it. Yeah, that's the general public's perception of it. Then you get some like you get Thorpe who transcends swimming. You get like Serena Williams who transcends tennis. LeBron James has transcended basketball.
That's what it's almost beyond what they do on the court. Obviously, it goes hand in hand. It kind of ties in together. But these sports stars, these transcendent talents, these generational talents, they're the ones that kind of... It's actually a bit crazy now that you think about it, what they do marketing-wise for the sport itself.
It's huge.
And they almost extend the sport on their own, because if you're using Bolt, think about the amount of young kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old, even younger than that, say, oh, I want to go do athletics because I've seen Usain Bolt do it on the TV and his character and he's so charismatic. And that can't be understated how important that is to the longevity of sport and how sport keeps going.
Of course.
Like, you need,
Well,
sports need stars.
You need inspirations. When was the London Olympics? 2012?
Yeah.
Was Chris Hoy still riding then as a cyclist?
I'm not too
Or was
sure,
it
but
Mark-
he definitely was on stuff.
Was it Mark Chamberlain or something? I can't remember.
Not
the
familiar with
guy's
this.
name. Either way, I know that British cycling killed it, didn't they? They won gold after gold after gold after gold. I was leaving my house in the middle of the Olympics, and there was 2 kids, and they had Union Jack stapled onto like a T-shirt, and they was riding on bikes, racing against each other, and I was like, literally, they've just seen England, Britain go and win gold, and I've gone and sort of emulated that in the street. And I think that is the transcendent nature of sport. And you never know if one of those kids, that spark is that future gold medal winner itself.
They could be the future Chris Hoy.
And that's how people get into, especially like, I would say, more obscure sports like cycling and stuff, because it's not necessarily a culture of cycling, I don't think, certainly not in Britain at least anyway. But anyways,
That's what
playoffs, who's winning it?
I personally believe the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, that's
because
what Joe said.
they literally. He's already mentioned it, but they've literally got 3 of one of the best offensive players anyway. James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving are 3 like the best offensive players, not just now, literally of all time in basketball. And he somehow made it on the same team.
There's the lose then.
It's pretty much theirs to lose, but James Harden has just got a hamstring injury in the first game of the second round, so they've got 1 less man, but they've only got 2 more superstars to help them. Okay. And even though they've not had James Harden, they've went through the first 2 games relatively easily against the Bucks, blown them out in both. And the Bucks are also one of the favourites and a very, very good team. And the Nets are making light work of them without James Harden, so that tells you just how good they are. And you know the difference it does make. When you've got team sports like football, 1 injury can have an impact depending on how good they are, obviously. But you've still got 10 other players, 9 other players to kind of factor that in. When it comes to basketball, it's even more individual. You've only got 5 players on the court. So each individual person has like a heightened effect on like the outcome of a game. So when you lose a player of that ilk, sometimes it usually has a dramatic effect. But so far, it hasn't. Because I always thought that in basketball, you attack and you defend, almost like mirror. So like there's equal importance, like equal amounts.
About marking you.
I'm attacking against you, but I'm also going to defend you as well. Right. So you almost need to be equally as good at both. You almost have to be 2-way, and if you're not, you've got to be exceedingly good at one facet. Whereas in like the likes of football, you can get away with because of positions and stuff not being necessarily that kind of way. But it's a very interesting sport. I think basketball and football has a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people trying to use different triangles and stuff like that as set plays, and even like the up, back and through that we use.
Yeah, one of my coaches back in the day, Tony Velisco from Oldham, used to kind of link the whole basketball ethos in terms of patterns and triangles in football as well. He always used to mention how similar they were and incorporated it into our training sessions and the way that we tried to play as well.
Interesting.
Great coach.
This weekend, one thing I love about the summer is the UFC has a couple of high points in the season. Yeah. They like the New Year's Eve sort of card. They like to put a big show on for New Year's Eve. And then typically like the first week of July, they call it International Fight Week, and they'll sometimes have 2 or even 3 major league cards. But as they start building up to it, May, June, July, there's typically become sort of like real big fight cards. This weekend, we've got Israel Adesanya against Marvin Vettori, who's risen and absolutely destroyed. I mean, Israel Adesanya, for me, is not quite John Jones, not quite Conor McGregor, but he's got the potential because he's got this personality. Yeah, he could be a transcendent athlete in the sport. 21-0, he's just destroyed all in front of him. I don't think it's necessarily going to be any different when he faces off against Vettori. He is defending his middleweight title. For me, it's Adesanya. Now, Vettori, 5 fights into his career, he was 2-1. No one's thinking this guy's ending up in a
doesn't that happen a lot
title
within the UFC in terms of this? It's not always about how you start. It's about having this kind of like run of form almost.
What's interesting about this is Adesanya's already fought Vettori back in the early days. So we're seeing like both men have obviously improved immeasurably.
It's like an evolved Vettori.
Is Vettori going to be able to have actually overcome and learn? Because you never know, sometimes a loss, you see everything that someone's got to throw at you, you go, I'll get you, bitch. And then maybe he gets him the second time. He's gone on an incredible run since then, 5 straight victories, back-to-back unanimous decisions, including loads of main events in the UFC. So Vettori could, I don't think he will, but Vettori could be an upset. For British fans, we've got Nate Diaz. Everyone's basically just become famous on the back of fighting.
Obviously, me, who's not a huge UFC fan when it comes to combat sports. I'm more a fan of boxing, which you don't like.
I do like boxing. I'm just sick of the bullshit fights in boxing.
Yeah, I get the other side of it. Nate Diaz is definitely a man that I'm very much familiar with. Obviously, elevated to fame on the back of the Conor McGregor kind of feud, didn't he?
The thing is, Nate Diaz's record's just so odd. It's 21-12-0, right? It's like such an ordinary record for a man that's got this weird odd cult following. For me, Nick Diaz is the Nick Diaz brother that you want to be following. He's the one that's fully off his head. I mean, Nate Diaz is missing sandwiches. But
yeah, like, Nate Diaz, from what I've seen, does seem to be a little bit of a crazy character himself.
He's a wild man, but like not as wild as his brother. His brother like swims from Alcatraz for a laugh. He's done it multiple times. He's just off his head. Does like triathlons and things.
Yes, swimming's definitely something I can't relate to anyway.
Leon Edwards, who is they've got the bad motherfucker title. Leon Edwards is a bad man.
He's a bad man, but I'm not going to be discriminatory and say, for a UFC fighter, he's going to be a bad man. He's going to be selling himself. Leon Edwards is a shit name.
You know we can get him in here, like, you know.
Come on, like
you're called Ronaldo.
No, but you hear all these cool names though, don't you, in the UFC, and then you got a man called Leon Edwards fighting you. It's just a bit. It's a bit anticlimactic, a little bit.
Leon's not been able to get a fight for nearly 2 years. He's had 23 months of like COVID sort of postponements and injuries to other people usually. People pull out on this guy all the time, which tells you people are scared of him. For a British fighter as well, he can wrestle, he can bang. He is a threat wherever you want to take this. He's gonna fucking run through Nate Diaz.
Pause.
He's going to run through Nate Diaz. Trust me. He's got 8 straight wins. He's got no contest in there. He's got 8 straight wins. Hasn't lost in nearly 6 years. This is a guy that is just. He's going to get a title fight at welterweight division, and it's well overdue. He is a bad man. And it's also one of the first times a non-main event is getting 5 rounds when it's not for a title as well. So you can tell they're building him up to get him ready for a title fight.
So would this be the fight to kind of spur his career on?
Well, like you said, you haven't heard of Leon Edwards,
no,
but you have heard of Nate Diaz. So
yes.
when Leon Edwards runs through Nate Diaz, you're going to go, oh shit, who's this British lad?
And then you go, I hear you.
He does.
Now you have sold him to me quite well though.
I think he's from Birmingham as well.
Now he's sounding promising. Obviously, he's been ducked by that many people that you've just mentioned. He's not lost in 6 years. Sounding like a dangerous bloke, and with Nate Diaz's record seemingly so inconsistent and all over the place, right now with both kind of pedigrees, who do you see winning that fight? You've pretty much made it seem like Leon Edwards, but with someone as crazy as Nate Diaz, you just never know.
He's just not got the horsepower. He's very good lightweight. He's come in and fought the likes of McGregor as a welterweight, but that was just 2 bloated lightweights, let's be real. With a genuine welterweight like Leon Edwards, he's going to get mullered. This isn't even going to be a contest. This is going to be a bully beatdown. Confident. He's going to fuck him up.
Even Nate Diaz and his crazed heart that he's got.
Yeah, he's going to be walking off doing all that shit after getting twatted.
After getting battered.
Yeah, so Leon Edwards is winning this one. It's not the only MMA that's on this weekend, though.
What else is on?
Well, technically it's not this weekend, it's tonight. And I implore you all, it's on ESPN, and it will be available in the UK. I'll throw a link in the description because I'm not sure exactly what it's on. But tonight, my mate is fighting. Brendan Loughnane, he is fighting in the PFL regular season. He's currently top of the league. So the PFL has this mad sort of... the PFL has this sort of mad system where they have like a league table for fighters. So they have like a featherweight division. They will play everybody off against each other, but you win points. So if you get a first round victory, you get more points than if you get a second round victory, than if you get a third round victory, than if you get a decision. And if you get a knockout and all this, you get extra points. So currently, Brendan's top of the league after a phenomenal first fight performance. He's fighting a guy called Tyler Diamond. I don't really know a great deal about the guy that he's fighting, but as always, we are fucking right behind you, our kid. Manchester born, Manchester bred, Manchester lad. Brendan Loughnane, my mate for like 10, 15 years. We are right behind him tonight. And can you imagine us standing there going, he's going to fucking get his ass handed to him? Not happening. He's going to fucking tune this youth in. So check it out tonight if you can. Brendan Loughnane fighting against Tyler Diamond, featherweight division, PFL regular season. If he knocks him out early doors again, he's going to be putting himself right at the top. And then what they do is at the end, they have a playoff. I think it goes semi-final, then a final. So they've tried to sort of like Americanise the sort of like playoff thing
conference kind of thing.
And he can win $1 million for winning the playoff final. And he's
Listen,
in the
I'll
mix.
jump in a ring if a Mill's on the line.
He's in the mix. I don't know if he's getting Yeah, I don't know if there's a guy called Lance Palmer who's pretty good, but I think he's got enough to take him. Yeah, Brendan's he's one of the favourites. He's one of the favourites to take this, and I think he's going to have a fucking good go at it. So
is it one of them where you just got to win the competition to get the mill, or is it kind of like sub prizes?
Just win it. Anyway, any way you can win that to eventually win it. But like I said, he can put himself into like the playoff part by being in the top half of the league, and obviously he's top of the league at the moment because he finished with the fastest finish, so he's in there. So good luck to Brendan tonight. I'm sure he's not going to need it. Bringing on the W and staying top of the league. That's about it, isn't it?
Yep, seems like it. Spoke about a few stuff, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got a bit of basketball in there, got a bit of MMA in there. Spoke about the Euros. Nice one to Mo. Make sure to check out Squawka for everything that you need for Euros, all the stats, stay up to date on everything that's breaking, and enjoy the festivities this weekend, because there's obviously a lot of sport going on as usual, and maybe Joe will be back next week, and maybe we're going to do Steve versus Joe again next week. I wonder what we're doing next week.
Yeah, the one time I'm on it, there's no activity. Is what it is.
Is what it is. Laters.